Hello, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of Beyond the Ordinary. And we have none other than Amy Bue today. I am so excited. She is a part of the Olympic Project, and she is also the co founder of Project Zoo Book. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you.
Hi,
So
Amy.
happy to have
Hello,
you.
Amy.
Hello,
Hi,
Amy.
Amy.
Thank you for joining us.
This is
Wonderful
fun.
to have you. And so, Amy, tell us a little bit about you and how you got into Bigfoot.
I am a reluctant Bigfoot person. um, just meaning that, it's kind of accidental. Maybe I should say accidental rather than reluctant, although some days, But I wasn't into it at all. But I saw something in 2012 that pretty much changed everything because although I can't be sure 100% what I saw to me looked like Bigfoot, looked like a Sasquatch. And I was familiar with them because of, unsolved mysteries and all that stuff from the 70s. And I knew of, the creature, but I for sure thought it was made up. And if there was such a thing, there'd only be like one of them out in California or something. But
Mhm.
I saw something I couldn't explain, and I still think about that almost every day. Because now
That's
here I am. That was in 2012. So what? How many years later? 13. I can
right.
count.
13,
I can
almost
count.
14 years later.
Yeah. And I still think about it. And I go by the area, and we were just there the other night, kind of creeping around, seeing if we could see anything. But it really changed my life because I started to look into the whole phenomenon. And I was like, wait a minute, you got to be kidding. Like, people say they're seeing these. And of all places, I'm from Ohio. And what I saw was in Ohio. So that was really crazy because there wouldn't, if they existed, they wouldn't be here, or so I thought. But I saw it out of the car window. It was standing on the shore of a reservoir. And I remember yelling, I think I just saw Bigfoot. And the next thing that crossed my mind was, that's stupid. Because again, I didn't think that they could be real. But now I still will normally call myself a hopeful skeptic because I have an occasional day where I still am like, what if they're not real? I want some more evidence. But I have to say that after these 13 years, I really do think that they exist.
Mhm.
And I have all kinds of reasons for that. And it's a fascinating topic.
That is awesome. Awesome. So tell us, you do investigations around Ohio.
Mhm.
Where else do you investigate?
I do most of my investigating in Pennsylvania because I live
Oh,
in
okay.
Northeast Ohio. I live in
Mhm.
Youngstown, so we're about halfway between Cleveland, Ohio, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Like,
Mhm.
I guess you go like that. And there's like, I could, if I really wanted to, I could walk to Pennsylvania from where I live. So my grandpa had a hunting cabin in Forest County, Pennsylvania. So I
Mhm.
grew up going there all the time. One of my favorite places on earth. It's beautiful in the Allegheny Mountains. And I still go there quite a bit because one of the things that I have started to do in the past several years is to go to hunting and fishing shows to collect Bigfoot reports. And most of them have had sightings in that area of Pennsylvania. So you talked about the Olympic Project and Project Zoo Book, but we've actually just recently started a sister project to the Olympic Project called the
Cool.
Appalachian Project, and that includes the Allegheny chain. So it's another thing
That
we're doing.
that's
There's a lot going on.
exciting.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
Amy, I just want to talk to you a little bit. I mean, I think your greatest innovation, if I may, is Project Zoo Book. So I'd like to hear why you decided to do it and what it involves for people.
Yeah. I just got, if you want to call it lucky or blessed or both, I just got really blessed by meeting a young lady over Facebook, who was interested in Bigfoot. And at the time, I had no idea who she was or what she did for a living, but she had just mentioned her um, interest on a Bigfoot page, and we started chatting, and it ended up, it's kind of a longer story, but I'm gonna make it shorter. We ended up communicating, and she ended up being a primate specialist at a zoo. And when she had told me that she and her coworkers had a Bigfoot lunch club where they would listen to podcasts and read books and, all this stuff, and then they'd eat lunch and talk about Bigfoot, I didn't know what she did. And then when I learned that she works with large primates and everybody else in her little Bigfoot lunch club did too, that kind of was amazing to me because at the time, I didn't know that many scientists that took this seriously. We all have some that we know, and there's more than you
Yeah,
think there
yeah.
are. But at the time, I didn't, and so I was just like, oh man, they wanted to go out, researching or go out looking, and I'm like, well, you don't have to join an official expedition or anything like that. You if you were going out to look for raccoons or something, you'd learn everything that you could about raccoons and what they eat and where their habitat is and everything, and you still might not see one, but at least you would try to do that. And so we started talking about, like, what if we did that for Bigfoot? Like, what if we started with the premise that Bigfoot is real, and again, a lot of the scientists I work with are hopeful skeptics. They want it to be real, but with what we do, we start with, okay, if it is real, a real living, breathing, pooping creature, how would you go about trying to find evidence of it? So I knew that I don't know a lot when it comes to Bigfoot, no matter who I've talked to, like you, Adam, you've taught me a lot, or what I've read. There were other people that have been doing this longer than I have who maybe aren't experts, but are experts in their field of study. And so I quickly hooked them up with some people I really admire who are doing some research, and it kind of goes from there. Since 2018, we've been having at least twice a month, but usually it would be every other week, Zoom meetings. Started as phone calls and then turned into Zoom meetings, and it went from myself and those 4 or 5 primate specialists to right now we have over 40 different scientists from different disciplines that take part in different parts of Project Zoo Book, and a lot of researchers like myself, because I'm not a scientist. I don't even know if I call myself a researcher. I guess people do, but I call myself an enthusiast more than that. But yeah, we have different projects we're working on. When we have our Zoom calls, we talk, maybe we'll have a guest that will talk, a witness. We'll have one of our wildlife biologists talk about something that they do out in the field, or we'll have one of our primatologists talk about what Bigfoot witness reports have in common with great apes. But it's really fun, and we have a good time, and it's definitely my baby.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Amy.
Sure.
I know I've Amy and I did get to go out once
Yes, we
a few
did. It
years
was
ago. We had a
fun.
lot of fun. We did.
Mhm.
I just would like to know, with all the research that you've done, and you've got this group of scientists that you can bounce ideas off of and collaborate on projects with. Since you've been doing this for, you said, what, 14 years now?
No, not that was when I first saw something, but Project Zoo Books since 2018.
Right, but you've been
Okay. Me.
into,
Okay.
I
Okay.
guess,
Sorry. Yeah.
researching it that
Yeah.
long, and you've had a lot of different experiences, I'm sure. Where are you with what you believe Bigfoot creatures to be?
You know, I like that question because you guys know that there's a lot of back and forth. If it's not arguing, sometimes it is. It's just,
Mhm.
people with a lot of strong opinions about that.
Mhm.
What I say, and I'm not trying to be wishy washy, it's just the truth, is that I don't know. My passion for this and my interest is focused on, could it be a normal, as far as any beautiful creatures are normal, earthly creature, like some type of a great ape, like we are. It could be closer to a human, it could be closer to an orangutan, or somewhere in between. I'm not sure. My research goes toward that, but there's so many people that have different ideas about it. I don't dismiss any of those ideas, and I'll talk to anybody about what their experience has been. um, I feel that we should follow where the evidence leads us, even if sometimes that could be a little uncomfortable or a little outside of our wheelhouse. I think that there's a lot of science that we just can't explain yet. So when um, I've never had anything really unusual happen to me out in the field that I would necessarily associate with Bigfoot. Like, I've seen some weird lights one time and stuff, but like I don't automatically say, oh, that's Bigfoot, but other people have had things that have been closely related. So I think it could be. There's no reason it couldn't be a some type of a large primate.
One of the
that's
things
just
I think that's a really great answer, Amy. I think a really great answer.
Well, if it's something creepier, I don't want to look for it.
Well, that leads
I'll
me
let
on to my
somebody
point.
else find it.
That leads me on to my point, because you just said, if it's something creepy, I don't want to look for it. And one of the things I think I like best about you and your approach is the fact that you're very honest about what happens in the woods. You know what I mean? It's not, you're not trying to, you are hardy and you do go out there, but is there any embarrassing incidents or anything awkward that's happened to you in the woods that you'd care to share, Amy?
Well, you're gonna ask that, Adam. I have
Of course
so
I was.
many.
Because you tell good stories. That's why I want them to know.
No, there's so many, but I don't know, like, what exactly you want me to say.
I want you to
Like,
say
what
whatever
am I
comes
allowed
into
to
your
talk
head
about?
concerning pooping in the woods.
Yes, well, I have a lot of those. Well, one time, do you want me to tell poop
Yes.
stories, Natalie?
Tell.
Yes.
She does. It's good
Say
TV,
it.
Amy.
Tell it all.
All right. Well, there's two I can think of that specifically have to do with Bigfoot. One, Lester is here listening to this. He was there
Lester
with
doesn't
me.
care.
No,
Lester
he
doesn't
doesn't care, but he
care.
was there with me, but he
Yeah,
stayed near the
exactly. He
truck.
doesn't care.
Well, once we were in the Alleghenies and we had been driving around, because we usually just kind of stay. We go up off this old logging road and we just kind of camp out and hike around because there's no facilities, or anything like that. And I'll tell you what, the first time I ever went to the bathroom in the woods was like, oh, because I felt like I could do anything. Like I could go anywhere, do anything. It was so freeing.
Yeah.
It really was. It really was. Like I didn't have to, it was like the world was open to me. So anyway, so like I like to go to those. I like primitive camping is my jam now. Anyway, so we had been driving around and I wasn't near my spot because that when I set up camp, and I've told you this before, Adam, when I set up camp, my first thing I do is like find where is the bathroom going to be. And I remember when I went camping, I was up on Mount St. Helens with Shelley Covington, Montana, and a couple other people. And I was like, okay, where am I going to make my bathroom? And I found a tree. I look for very specific things. I want a tree that has sturdy branches kind of low to the ground and a log nearby so I can kind of hold on and lift myself up if I need to. And I pre-dig holes. Like I think about, okay, how many days am I going to be there? And how many holes will I probably need? You never know. But anyway, at this place, this was in Pennsylvania, we weren't at my potty spot. So all of a sudden, like, if I gotta go, I gotta go. It's just bad. So anyway, I'm like to Lester, I'm like, stop the truck. We're not gonna make it anywhere. And we were like way far away from civilization. So I run out of the truck And I can't believe I'm telling this story. Or who cares? Whatever. So I run out of the
Great
truck
story.
and I go back
Great.
into the woods a bit in case, like, there wasn't really traffic, but in case anybody comes by, and I do my business. But the bad part of it was I saw movement, and I looked down, and I did it on a snake. The poor little snake.
Ah, ah, ah.
I felt so bad. I'm sorry. I felt so bad for it. Poor Melissa's over there like, oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
are you, I mean, you're really lucky you didn't get bit in the ass.
I know, but I wanted to like clean it off, but its head was clear. Like its head was clear. It was like the back end of
You
it.
felt
I
better
felt
because
so.
his head was clear. You told
Yeah,
me.
at least I didn't smother it.
That poor snake was like, why? Why? I'm having the worst day ever.
Oh, it was terrible. And then another one, I was in Southern Ohio.
Not my day.
No, I know. Like somebody told me once, like, I wonder what stories that snake had.
Yeah,
And I was
poop
like,
You're not
snake.
gonna believe this.
It's it.
Right.
I've seen terrible things," said the poop snake.
Terrible, terrible things. Oh gosh. So that's one of them. And then another one was just funny because I was out in Southern Ohio. I was with David Wickham, and we were kind of scoping out a place. I was going along with him. He was doing a expedition, and I was just kind of along helping him to scope out an area where he was going to do hikes and all this stuff. And again, don't go bigfooting after you've been to a Mexican restaurant. That's my biggest piece of advice.
Man.
Anyway, all of a sudden I'm like, David, no. And this was before I was comfortable, just running in and using leaves or whatever. So I'm trying not to cry. I'm like, I have to get to a bathroom. So we run to his car or truck or whatever it was. And he's like booking it through these old trails. And he's like, I remember there used to be a campground out this way. So we go to the campground, and I kid you not, it was like a movie because we're driving in there and it's all empty now, except there's one lonely porta potty, right? And we're driving toward it, and the sunlight comes out of the sky and is directed right onto the porta potty, like a big sunbeam. It was, and I started crying, and I'm like, oh, yay. And there was even toilet paper in it. It was like a miracle. It was a miracle. So yeah, either now I pretty quickly learned to just not worry about a toilet, but those are some of the stories. Yeah, I'm
Those are
always
awesome.
embarrassing myself. It's not even
Yeah, but
Those are
the
awesome
fact is you
stories.
share it, you see, because it makes you see that sort of humanity, because we all have little foibles or idiosyncrasies.
Yeah.
Not everybody. You are a very accomplished female researcher, like the ladies here, but sharing those human moments, I think is a real positive because people
Yeah.
relate to that, and everybody thinks, "Oh yeah, that was me." I don't think anybody's had a sort of a quasi-religious toilet moment like you.
No,
But other than that,
I'll never forget that.
everyone else
Well,
I mean,
resonates.
seriously,
scariest
I
thing.
think you're the only person in the world who can say you've pooped on a snake. I mean, right?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I could be. I should be in the Guinness Book of World Records or
I
something.
think it's worth
Yeah.
an entry. I really do. I mean,
Yeah.
The scariest thing that's ever happened to me as far as Bigfooting involved a poop story. It was awful. It was terrible. Do you want to hear that one?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh
absolutely.
my gosh.
Oh my God, yes.
I forgot about this part. So, oh, so we were asked, I get a phone call from the Wall Street Journal. And I'm laughing because it's just surreal, right? I'm a former English teacher, I'm into Bigfoot, never tried to be Bigfoot famous or anything like that. I'm just going about my normal life, but I get this call. And long story short, this reporter had just wanted to do a little blurb because I was speaking at an event in Pennsylvania. He got interested in Project Zubik, ended up doing this bigger story on us and interviewing the scientists and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, he decides he wants to go camping with me and my home team that I have here in the area. And I'm like, okay, so he comes in. Well, first of all, anyway, he was coming the next day. He and this photographer from Alaska was flying in for this camping trip. And I warned him because I said, I love Bigfoot. I take it seriously. I spend a lot of time on this, but if you are trying to be like guaranteed some kind of a sighting or something, don't be asking me that because I'm not the one. I'm not going to make things up, and I don't always see something, right? Hardly ever. So anyway, this was the night before he and this photographer were supposed to sign up. And so my friends and I were just nervous. So we're like, oh my gosh, we better set up camp. We're making it a little bit more cozy than normal. Usually I'm just like drinking water and eating granola or whatever like that. But we were going to make breakfast. And so we get there, and again, we're in that same spot. It's in the Allegheny National Forest, very remote. So we didn't have anything set up, no recorders, nothing. We're just like, trying to get stuff ready. So we go to sleep that night. I'm in my little tent here. Kevin, my friend Kevin, and his daughter and dog are in two tree hammocks over here. My friend Monica's here.
Kevin Morrison. Was it Kevin Morrison?
No, Kevin, I love Kevin Morrison, but this is Kevin Alex Sajak. He's an engineer from the Pittsburgh area.
Okay.
One of the smartest people I know. He's amazing and really cool guy. You should talk to him sometime. You'd love him. And then Monica and Tina are over here. Anyway, it's like the middle of the night, and I wake up because of this weird feeling. All I can say is it felt like really large footsteps, but I didn't think about that at the time. That's not what I thought at the time. Looking back at it, it kind of reminds me of Jurassic Park when that scene with the T-Rex, when you just like they feel it and the water's moving. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I just felt something, and it was felt internal. And so I was thinking, oh my gosh, something's physically wrong with me. Like I'm having heart problems or something. And I was scared. So it scared me. So I was awake, and I was trying to get through to other people on my phone, but there's no kind of signal up there. So I'm playing some dumb game that you don't have to have a signal for, just calming myself down. Because half the time when I'm camping, even if there's other people around, I'm in my tent scared. And when I get scared, you know what happens. So anyway, I'm in there scared, trying to calm myself down. I'm still awake. I found out the next day that Monica and Tina had both felt that. And Tina thought that she was having some kind of physical ailment. And when we left, we got the text came through, are you okay? Can you feel that? Whatever. So I'm lying there. They had gone back to sleep, and I'm lying there. And all of a sudden, I don't even know how to describe this, but it was a windy kind of night. So, I could just hear the breeze a little bit. And this yell comes out of the forest that I will never forget. And I had nightmares for months afterwards, and I still think about it sometimes. And the only thing I can compare it to would be I've seen those island warriors that do the haka. They're like, yeah. But it was real. It was like that. Yeah. And it was just drawn out, but this aggressive yell. It wasn't a scream, really. It was a yell. And I just caught my breath, and I tried not to cry. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. And I didn't, I wasn't thinking Bigfoot, that's what we were there for, but I still don't know what it was, but I feel like I'm familiar enough with what black bears sounds make and the birds of the area. I became a Ohio certified volunteer naturalist because of Bigfoot. And I still do a lot of education where I'm learning what isn't Bigfoot in the woods, right? So I feel like it was either some really big dude trying to scare us, or I don't know what. But anyway, it did scare me. And I'm in there trying not to cry. And long story short, and I'm not going to get into all the gory details, but I had to go because I got scared, right? So I'm like, do I go out there to try to go to the bathroom and die? Or like, what are my choices? What are my choices? Uh, so
Don't be
the
shy,
only
carry on. There's only thousands of people going to listen to this, so don't be shy.
No, I don't care.
Yeah,
It's all
don't
right.
be shy.
So, I'm not. So all I had in my tent was like this little envelope. I don't even know why it was in there, like that you would get at a card store, but it was plastic, not paper. And I'm like, am I going to be able to aim in this? So I actually tried and I was like, it's not going to work. So I'm like, here we go. I'm just going to die. So I have my headlamp on and I unzip and I'm crying like I'm going to die. So I get out, like kneeling, getting out of my dumb little tent. It's tiny. And I'm like, Monica, Monica. And finally I hear her voice. And I'm like, don't turn on your light, don't turn on your light, because my pants are still down, right? I have the, I have this like little baggy thing and my thing on, and I'm like, there's something out here, but I gotta go to the bathroom. And usually I have my holes, but she had like a tent thing. I'm like, can I use your potty tent? And I made it. The good news is I made it.
Oh,
But
that's good.
that's the only time that I can think of that I got so scared. And this was before I knew they had felt it and heard that too. Um, that I like slept in my car the rest of the night. And Tina said she could see my light like whipping around all night.
around. No
But
sleep.
usually I will stick it out and I will be terrified in that little tent or wherever I am. But I'm like, I'm not gonna let it beat me. I'm gonna stay there. But I couldn't. It was really scary. And I still don't even know what all that was. But we did try to find out. Um we looked into if any seismic activity had happened in the area. We what was the other thing? Oh gosh, like fracking, if there was any of that going on, like
Yeah.
what could have been making that, and we couldn't figure it out. But that was scary. And a little bit of a
That
poop story too.
that's phenomenal. But no, that's got to be terrifying. And I can
It was scary.
sympathize and empathize because I mean, when you got to go, you got to go.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
I guess I have a weak stomach.
No, you
Sorry,
mentioned
I'm
earlier on
talking
about
so
this
much
new
too.
project. Amy, you
What'd you
mentioned
say?
about this new project, this new research project, this Appalachian thing, and I don't know anything about that. So tell us about that.
I mean, it's in its infancy, so we're
Mm.
still gathering team members. We are scouting locations, and the coolest thing to me about it is all of these Project Zoo Book meetings. We have little side projects and things going on, but all of them that we've had, all the scientists have wanted to like get their teeth into something. Like they've wanted to be a part of something rather than just talking about what should we do. So now this is our chance to do that. So we have different scientists who worked like with data and who can put the things into their into their algorithms and all that, and they came up with different areas that we should start hypothetically researching.
Hmm,
And so we're doing that, which is
that's really
exciting.
interesting.
Yeah, and so who knows what's going to come out of it? I mean, with the Olympic project, you have the nests there,
Yeah.
but they existed before those nests came along,
Mm.
for them to
Yeah.
study. So I have started conversing with some different organizations in Pennsylvania, and we're starting there because I'm close to it. We hope to someday, spread out because the Appalachian, however you want to say it, is vast. So we're just
Yes.
we're just taking a tiny bite out of it. But who knows? Who knows? The
I'm
sky's
on the
the
very
limit.
end of it in Tennessee. Was Tennessee and
Yeah,
Alabama area?
yeah,
Actually live on the Appalachians area now, and it goes all the way down to
very
Greg
cool.
almost, I think, and Jake.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very cool. So we're just getting the scientists involved in different ways, but it really isn't. We've just started it, so nothing to report yet. But I'm
Well,
excited
that's
about it.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Branching
exciting.
out, that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about the Olympic project and your part in that.
Oh gosh, I am just, honored to be a part of it. When Shane and Derek called me several years ago, I think that was also in 2018, I think, and asked me to be part of it. I'm like, but I live in Ohio, what can I
Yeah.
contribute? And they're just the best. I've
Yeah.
been out there when I can be, but I just, I live here. So
Yeah.
I've basically been a cheerleader, I would say, like a Midwest supporter. And I
Yeah.
spread the news of it. When I go out there, I've been able to go out with Shane, when he's changing batteries and the different recorders and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
love it. And Project Zoo Book works very closely with the Olympic Project. So a lot of our scientists have crossover or help out with things. So yeah, I haven't been able to do what I would love to do, be there every day and helping boots on the
Mhm.
ground. So the last time I was in Washington, that's when I approached Shane and Derek, and they thought the sister project would be a great idea. And then I feel like I can contribute a bit more.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
So cool. Yeah.
Speaking
It's a really
of
great
your,
idea.
speaking of your poo stories, there is a
I'm sorry.
very large
Sorry, Mom.
piece of poo that's in the museum in
Georgia.
Georgia.
Yep.
Because are you guys gonna are you guys gonna go out and like try to find some Bigfoot poo for yourself, like
Oh, for sure. That'd be awesome.
in the Appalachians? Because I know where that came from, the Northwest.
Yes, but do you know that would be awesome? But do you know that that piece of poo and the Cherry Log, Georgia Museum is a big reason that Project Zoo Book exists? Because
Really?
that
Really?
that young lady who worked with the primates at the zoo, she went to that museum with her dad. Her dad was interested in Bigfoot, and she saw that piece of poo, and she heard the stories and saw other possible evidence, and she's like, this is really intriguing. Like, I don't
Isn't that
she
funny? What a take.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It was
Really
destiny.
interesting.
No,
I
it
would
really
never have
is.
ever have thought that ever.
It all comes back to
I
food.
I would have
know.
bet against that a lot of money. I really
I
would.
know, but it's true. And she's like, when she and the other their main gorilla guys started, they were the two, and they still are the ones that are in Project Zoo Book. They were like, a lot of these stories have very primate like qualities to them that the witnesses don't necessarily even pick up on. That
Mhm.
was what intrigued them the most, because there would be things that they were like, that that sounds exactly like the gorillas or the chimpanzees or macaques or whatever it is that they were working with at the time, what they would do. And they had a really different way of looking at it. So I have learned more about great apes than I ever thought I would, which I love and enjoy. And it's really cool to kind of see what some similarities could be. Although
Mhm.
in most of our talks, we would compare things like what Bigfoot would eat, or where what they would use for shelter, more to bears, since those are our North American apex predators. They would
Mhm.
be what we would look at here in comparison. But it's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that museum had a lot to do with this, and you
It
didn't
all
even
circles
know.
around to poop.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
it
does.
does.
Well, I want to pick up the thing, but move it back to the snake.
Yeah.
So you've had, have you ever had any paranormal encounters, concerning any strange entities or anything of that kind?
I have, but not really to do with Bigfoot.
No, not to do with Bigfoot. When I think about a snake, I think about paranormal encounters. And
Oh yeah, no.
When we were in Kentucky, Amy, you want to tell us what happened there?
I didn't catch on.
Now you have.
Right here. He's right here.
Yeah, it's all right.
He doesn't know.
No, but you can say about what happened.
Okay, well, what happened is that Adam and I both spoke at this conference, I guess, or gathering in festival in Kentucky. And Lester came along, so we were all staying at the same bed and breakfast, and it was amazing. And
Wasn't it? It was like a mansion we were rolling around.
It was beautiful, and it was kind of semi-creepy. You remember watching this?
It was.
I got a message from Lester frantically telling me, you need to join the live right now. Right now. Get on there right now. And I'm like,
I remember that. I remember
it. Yeah. So our room that Lester and I were in had this whole history of this lady that had lived in that room. Like, she didn't use it as a hotel. She like lived there, and she had a pet snake, and she would sit next to the window with this snake. And I forget its name.
Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Wilson. That's right. So anyway, Lester is very afraid of snakes. He doesn't like them. And so it didn't go over well that our room was supposedly haunted by Mr. Wilson.
The ghost snake.
Right? The ghost snake. And I guess, wasn't it like the lady died by hitting her head on the bathtub?
That's right. And the ghost snake was haunting the room, and Lester was on perpetual guard in case the ghost snake came out that night.
Yes, he was. And then you and I made a
video.
Ghost hunting video, and Lester played a little cameo.
And Lester
danced a little cameo.
It was a man who hit his head on the bathtub.
That was a man. That's right.
So guys, look that up. Look that video up on.
It was awesome.
That's funny.
It was awesome.
I'm going.
Yeah, that was funny. But I have had other weird things happen.
Tell us.
That's why when people think Bigfoot could be paranormal, I'm like, well, I guess it could, because I think that stuff happens.
Well, let's hear about those, because I know you've talked about on a lot of your interviews you've done. You talked about obviously the Olympic Project and Zoo Book, and that's what people expect to hear from you. But I'd not heard about your paranormal stuff, so let's hear about that, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with Bigfoot, but I 100% believe in ghosts or spirits, or, I don't know if they are spirits or if they're, like residual hauntings, people call them, that you can just see the past, like a wrinkle in time or what. I don't know what they are, but I saw, well, first of all, the house that I grew up in, I believe, if you want to call it haunted or had some memories still in it or what, but I saw a ghost, if you want to call it that, there. So did my sister. My mom and I both saw this African violet that was in its little container, like floated across the room. So I grew up like having that kind of a experience. But the most impressive one, I guess, was my ex-husband and I were at Fort Meigs outside of Toledo, Ohio, and we were exploring the fort. It's a Revolutionary War fort, I believe. Or no, maybe War of 1812. I'm sorry, I was a teacher, but I don't remember which war.
It's okay.
Anyway.
You weren't a history teacher. You were.
Yes, I was not a history teacher. That's right. Anyway, we were in like the main part of the fort, and my ex, we're still friends now, but he didn't believe in anything paranormally, like this is stupid, whatever, right? We both saw a soldier that kind of just was there, and then the soldier, and it was like color walk across that inner courtyard or whatever you call that, and he walked across it and he just was gone. And we both watched him and we were just stunned, and we went inside. Like, it's just so unbelievable, you question yourself. And we were like, are there any reenactors today? Like, even though he disappeared. So, no, there weren't any, but I'll just never forget that. I remember what he looked like. And I remember what the uniform looked like, and he was there and then he wasn't there. So
Did he
I've
look at
had
you? Did he look at you? Do you think it was like
no,
residual energy?
that's
Or
what
did
I
he?
think.
Yeah.
I think it was like a memory or something because he didn't seem
Mm.
to acknowledge.
And the ghost. Just one last question for me on this, because but the ghost that you saw when you were a child, were you familiar with them, and did they look at you? Were they
They looked
residual
at
energy or not?
that one looked at me, and that
That one looked at you. What
that
did it
was
look like?
scary.
Tell us. Tell
He
us.
looked like what I thought in my head, like a fur trader.
Mm.
Where he had a mustache, he had a suede or leathery hat on, and like he seemed to it seemed to be made out of animal skins, the shirt
Mhm.
and pants. And I was sleeping on the floor at that time. I was a little older because I had moved out. My younger sister was in my room, so when I'd come back, I would sleep on the floor in my other sister's old room, and I forget who was sleeping in the bed. But when I woke up, he was standing there staring at the person who was sleeping in the bed. And I was like on the floor, and I must have like moved, and he turned and looked at me. Ugh. And he didn't do anything aggressive or anything, but just creepy.
Yeah.
And then he was gone. But I remember I was doing this, like pinching myself. Was I really awake? Was I really awake? To make sure I always do this.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know, but I saw him.
Yeah.
And my other sister had seen somebody like at the foot of her bed, and it looked like they were like knelt down, almost praying at the foot of her bed.
Mm.
And the room I was in, there's a bathroom, and then that other little room she had been in. So it's like was all concentrated there.
When you
Wow.
So I don't know.
when you saw
That
that
doesn't
ghost, can you describe the translucity of it, the opacity of it? I mean, was it translucent? Was it completely
Not
soft
that I remember. It looked like a person.
on both of them,
And the
the
one
soldier and the one that looked at you?
that looked at me looked more solid than the soldier. The soldier, I could see the colors and everything. Um, there was something about it that I'm remembering that wasn't quite right. That wasn't quite solid, I guess.
Mhm.
Maybe more so, but the person in the bedroom I really thought was a real person. Like, what are they doing in here? And it was creepy that they were looking down at the person sleeping, so they were aware that there
Mhm.
was somebody there.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
it
I
doesn't.
don't know. I've had weird stuff like that happen. So I definitely believe in things that we can't explain. I've just not
Yeah.
had that happen with Bigfoot.
Yeah. That those encounters that you had in your home don't sound residual. They sound very
Hmm.
paranormal, as a spirit coming.
Yeah.
Do you think, and I know that seeing somebody foreign, a complete stranger in your room, but do you think that he was just watching over just to make sure everybody's okay, or did he look confused?
My my thought at the time was that he was confused.
Hmm.
Yeah, like who is
Okay.
this? Who is this? What's going on type of thing, but I don't know. It
Yeah.
didn't
Okay.
it didn't he didn't seem protective or anything like that.
Okay. Okay. Sometimes generations down, family members will come and visit, and
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
things of that
Well,
nature.
I've had weird things like that too with family. Um,
Do tell.
well, one was uh I was a teenager again, and I was sleeping, and I had what I thought was a very vivid dream, and it startled me to the extent that and I'm glad I did this. I went down the hallway to my mom and dad's room and woke them up, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I just had a dream that Uncle Bill was here." And my Uncle Bill was my great uncle.
Mm.
And he lived in California, so we didn't see him very often. But when he would come into town, so he was my grandpa's brother, when he would come into town, I just loved him. He looked like Santa. He had this white beard and the most beautiful, like light blue eyes, but he was blind. And
Mm.
so like I remember him sitting in the one chair at grandma and grandpa's house, and I would like sit on his lap and we'd hug, and I just like felt like I was his favorite. I don't know if that's true, but he made me feel that way. And I just
Uh-huh.
loved Uncle Bill. So anyway, I had this dream. And so I'm telling my mom about the dream. And again, I was so glad I told her. My dad was maybe listening or sleeping. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But I told her I dreamt we were having a family party, and we used to have like Christmas parties and stuff in our old house, and we had a big house, and everybody was like in the living room and dining room, and there was music, somebody was playing the piano, you could hear people talking, and I was in the other smaller room we called the library because there was a bunch of books, and I was standing in there, and the lights were off in it, but you could see like light coming from the other room, and I'm standing there, and that was the house I was in at the time, and it had these double rows of windows and these curtains that you'd pull that were always closed, and my dad kept those curtains closed because the books were rare. You don't want
Mhm.
the sunlight to bother them. But the one odd thing was the curtains were open. So I'm standing there and I look out the window, and on the other side of the window is my Uncle Bill. And it just sounds so like cliche now, but he was standing there, and he had a like a hobo pack back here, like with
Uh-huh.
the thing, and he had like he was carrying some stuff, and I'm gonna get shivers. This always, I just remember it so vividly. In the dream or whatever it was, he looked at me, and I could tell that he could see me. Like I could
Oh.
see
Yeah.
acknowledgement in his eyes. He looked at me and he waved and smiled and he left. And if you can't guess, like the next morning we found out that he had died that night.
Wow.
And he hadn't been sick that we knew. Like there was nobody had been talking about him recently. But I really feel like he came to say goodbye to me. I can't
Oh.
explain it any other way.
Yeah.
But
No, that's beautiful.
yeah, it really is beautiful to me. It's a special
Yeah.
memory.
Very
Yeah.
special. I know some, that's a lot of times you hear about these stories where
Mhm.
family members come to see other family members and you find out they passed. So that's beautiful.
Yeah. And it was special because that isn't somebody that I would think that would do that because we didn't see each other that long, but we did have some kind of a bond.
Hmm. And to
Sure.
your point, he made you feel like you were the most important, that you were his
Yeah, he
favorite.
did.
And clearly you were,
I
because he
guess.
came to see you.
Mhm. Yeah.
That is so wonderful. Well, I know I'm stealing your time, so I'm going to give this over. Greg, do you have any questions for Amy?
Well, just what's coming up in the future for you? I know you've got the new Appalachian Project, but do you have anything else on the horizon?
That's where I'm spending most of my effort right now. And I've talked about this book that I've been writing for years, and I still have not finished
You've
it.
got to do that book. You have been talking
I
about it for years.
I do. I know. Well, I have a lot of it done. I need to finish it. You're right, Adam. So maybe
Yes.
I started this book several years ago. Um, it is about a wonderful man who was involved in Bigfooting back in the 70s, 80s, and beyond that, who a lot of people, I mean, if you really are into Bigfoot, you've heard of him, but a lot of people had never heard of him and still haven't. And I just feel like his story should be told. And I searched for him for 2 years. I had met him one time, and then nobody knew what happened to him. And I searched for him for 2 years, finally found him, and he was in his 80s at the time. And he and sometimes my mom would come with me, and I would get together at this little like Amish restaurant, and we would have lunch, and then he would tell us stories. and I had his permission. I have recordings and I have a lot of notes about it. He had written like a small book about some of his adventures and things, but then he told me like a lot of other things that he had done. And his name was Tom Paige. And basically, he had kind of taken over funding Bigfoot research for Roger Patterson and then later for Peter Byrne and some different people after Tom Slick died. And just some of the adventures that he went on. Like, he was a big game hunter and he had heard of the Yeti. And then when the Patterson Gimlin film came out, and he saw that and he's like, oh, there's something that I could sink my teeth into over here in North America. The best way for him to get involved was to, get involved with Roger Patterson at the time. So he funded a lot of different research and just had a lot of cool stories. So anyway, he and I were writing this together, and then he passed away in 2022, I think.
22.
And it was just hard to finish it without him,
Mhm.
so it's kind of been on the back burner, and then I bring it out and then I don't, but I'm determined to get that done because I feel like his story needs to be told.
Mhm.
So that's another big thing. I don't do as many conferences as I used to. I'm just a little more protective of my time. I
Mhm.
do still love to do the outdoor shows though, because there's so many good stories that I get.
Yeah.
So in the spring, I'll be doing some of those.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
Jamie, do you have any questions for Miss Amy?
So I was wondering, when you do go to your research areas, how do you know that Bigfoot is there?
Don't. I know, like
You,
I feel like my answers are boring, but I don't. Like, I have recorders out. We're getting some more to put out there, and basically the reason I think they could be there are a lot of stories from other people. There's water, there's food, there's shelter, all that kind of thing. And I have had an abundance of stories from hunters, fishermen and women, people I've met, who I've gone to that area to interview. They've had experiences, but I have not had an experience there except for that weird sound,
Mhm.
if that's what it was. So it ended up like serendipitously being an area that the scientists pinpointed that would be a good place to look. So, I didn't tell them where exactly I was liking to go, and it ends up being a good place to go. So I feel like we could find some evidence there, but I haven't found any evidence there
Mhm.
yet.
Yet is the key point.
Mhm.
Great question,
But
Jamie.
you have to be willing to. I feel like, if Peter Byrne spent his life looking and didn't find what he was looking for, I certainly can try. You
Yeah.
have to be willing to do the nitty gritty stuff and be disappointed and not have something happen. And maybe I'll never have something happen, but I'm gonna try. And then I also feel like it's never a bad day to be in the woods. So,
Ever.
Absolutely.
mhm.
So, Melissa, do you have any questions for Amy?
Amy, where can people find you if they want to learn more about you?
Well, I'm on Facebook, so they can look up Amy Bue Bue there. Project Zubook does have a website. Don't go to the .com one because that's older, but projectzubook.org. It's still in the creating. There's some things out there, but it's hopefully going to be more interactive where people can ask questions of the different types of scientists and things like that. So we're slowly getting that updated.
And
I'm
is there a
excited.
website for Project Zubook that they could visit?
Yeah, that's it. Projectzubook.org. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Mhm. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
that's where. And my
Awesome.
email is Bigfoot Amy, bigfootamy@gmail.com if anybody ever wants to be pen pals or something.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
Adam, do you have any final questions for our friend Amy?
No, I'd just like
We
to
should,
thank
wait a
you,
minute. We
Amy.
should say scat. Let's say scat instead of poop, so it'll be more
Yeah, no,
professional.
I'd like to thank you, Amy, because what we've tried to introduce here was the fact that you are a great researcher and you also have done some pioneering work. But I like the humanity of your approach, and also you brought some of the paranormal dimension, which I didn't know about you, and you've talked about things I feel that you've never talked about before on any interview you've done. So
Mhm.
I welcome that too. It's always good to hear you because you have evident warmth and humanity in the way you
Mhm.
approach things, and that's a great thing, Amy. That is.
Thank you.
Yes.
You know I love you. Adam's always been my hero in all of this, so he knows it. And he's a good friend now, so I appreciate that. And it's so good to see you,
Yeah.
Melissa and
It's so
Natalie and
good to see
everybody.
you.
Yeah, you too.
Well, Amy, thank you so much. It is always an honor to speak with you and to spend time with you. And I just have one thing to share. One of my greatest days of my life, other than my kids being born and all that, was in the summer of 2024. We were in Gatlinburg together,
Mhm.
and you and Shane were speaking. Lester was there, and you and Shane and Lester were so gracious to
Aw.
invite me along in the vehicle that you had rented and to just go out into the forest and show me what you look for and to tell stories. And it was one of the most amazing days. I wanted to just tell
Aw,
you
you're so
how
sweet. We had so
amazing
much
that was.
fun.
We
Well, we
had a
love you.
blast. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This was amazing.
Thank you. How is your daughter doing? Okay.
She is doing so much
Okay,
better.
good. Lester
In
wanted to
fact,
know too.
yes, she's doing so much better right now. Yesterday was an uphill battle. Today is 1,000 times better. In fact, they
Good.
told her if we have all the supplies ready, they'll discharge her on Monday.
Well, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Glad. Good news.
Yes. All right. Well,
Thank
this
you
was
guys.
awesome.
This was fun. Don't tell my mom the scat story.
Totally gonna be out there now, Amy Bue. Totally gonna
I
be
have
out there.
nothing to hide.
Just flinging turds.
That's
how we
right.
roll
That's
around
right.
here. Beyond the
Amy Bue
ordinary.
like a
flinging turds.
chimpanzee. That's your lady, Amy Bue.
That's right.
That's
It's
my rap.
research.
There's
It's
my
research.
white British rap for the night.
It's all research.
Oh my gosh.
All in the name of research.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, Lord.
Mm.
All
Thanks,
right. That was an
guys.
awesome show.
That
was
was.
great.
Thanks for
funny.
being on, Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
Absolutely. Good to see you guys.
Thank you, Amy.
Amy.
Okay.
Mwah.
Take care,
Bye.
Lester. Don't do anything crazy.
He's waving. He's waving. He has the mouth
Okay.
full. He's waving. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
This show was brought to you by the Society of Snakes Against Poo. It's never too late to save a snake from a poo drop.